For Valparaiso University School of Law, I'm Tom Scher, here now to talk about the Valparaiso Sports Law Clinic, which provides pro bono legal assistance to amateur athletes based on need. The director of the clinic is Valparaiso Law Associate Professor Michael Straubel, and Mike Straubel joins us now. It's good to have you with us to talk about the clinic.
Thank you for having me.
Now, this has been going on for several years, the Valpo Sports Law Clinic. What brought this about? How did it come to be?
After the 2004 Olympics, we held a conference, early part of 2005, looking at dispute resolution in international sports. And we learned that there were a great deal of athletes who were simply going without counsel, without representation, because they couldn't afford it. John Ruger mentioned the great need, so we just took that and ran with it. John Ruger was the ombudsman for the USOC, the U.S. Olympic Committee. What type of relationship do you have with him? Oh, excellent, excellent. He actually is the person that is almost a conduit. People come to him needing counsel, telling they can't afford it, and he notifies us. Now, when he brings a case possibility to you, how does the process work? Or when anyone comes in contact with the Valparaiso Sports Law Clinic? Well, we gather some basic information and decide whether it's something that fits in our capabilities, whether they truly can't afford counsel, and then go from there. Mike, as you think back to the creation of the Sports Law Clinic, have you had more of one case than another compared to what you might have expected? We've actually had a broad spectrum. The ones that have gotten the most attention and taken up the most of our time have involved doping, but they're all over the board. Disciplinary actions, disputes with national governing bodies over stipends, all sorts of things of that sort. Our very first case involved defending an athlete's position on a world championship team. Someone else felt they should have been selected. It was a diver, Cassandra Cardinal, and we represented her and were successful. She got to go to the world championships. Shawnee Davis was another case that involved dispute over stipends and logos and who could wear them in what situations. We've handled. And you won that case also? Yes, yes, and essentially we did. Took a while. It took a long time. We've handled some eligibility, some NCAA eligibility cases. We're in the middle of one right now, trying to get an athlete another year of eligibility. We've handled some disciplinary matters. Someone's been accused of not a doping violation, but just some improper conduct. Well, I think it's important to note that the Sports Law Clinic and Valparaiso Law fully supports efforts to rid sports of performance-enhancing drugs and fully supports the enforcement of all rules. But when it comes to due process, if you take on a client who you feel needs assistance, you do what you have to do. And in one case, you scored a victory. It's Latasha Jenkins. That was a major arbitration decision, which you did win for her. It was the first time anyone had ever scored such a victory against USADA, the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency. Yes, yes. I think since its existence, since 2001, it had a perfect track record. And that's understandable. They should really be winning almost all of their cases, because they're not going to bring a case if they don't think it's a good case to win. Well, she was at a meet over in Europe and had tested positive for low levels of a banned steroid, and she couldn't afford an attorney and came to us for some help. We began investigating and found out that there could have been some lab irregularities. So that formed the basis of the argument that the lab results really weren't reliable because there had been some irregularities in the procedures. And we were successful in arguing that during the first arbitration and later on appeal to the Court for the Arbitration of Sport. Now, I occasionally use the words win and victory, but that's perhaps a misnomer. Is your goal simply to uphold justice? That's correct, yes. And provide due process, yeah. What about Michelle Collins? What happened in that case? Well, she came to us to help her with the petition to the IAAF for reinstatement. Part of the earlier deal she had worked out with the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency was in exchange for her cooperation, they would support her petition for early reinstatement, and we just helped her through that process. It did ultimately involve preparing her for some of her testimony, both in the arbitration hearings against her former coach, Trevor Graham, and some other athletes, and also in the federal prosecution with Trevor Graham. So we assisted her in that situation also.
Now, the Valparaiso Sports Law Clinic was on site at the Winter Olympics in Turin, Italy, and the Torino experience put you in the forefront on the international stage, really, as media from all over the world ask your opinions and thoughts on some of the issues facing competition. What has that been like for you? You've become sort of the go-to guy.
It's been a little busy sometimes, fielding phone calls and inquiries from the media. But I think it's an opportunity to let the world know what we're doing and thinking about in the clinic. We actually sit around in meetings and talk about some of these issues, so we're thinking about these in depth before they come up.
What comes to mind as you think of the various third-year law students who've gone through the clinic with you?
All of our success is due to them. I mean, the quality of the work, the time they put in, that's how we're successful. These cases are complicated, difficult, and if we didn't have capable, bright people willing to spend the time digging into all of this, we couldn't be successful.
Well, Professor Straubel, thank you for talking to us about the Valparaiso Sports Law Clinic and some of the cases you've handled for it.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Sports Law Clinic Director Michael Straubel. I'm Tom Scher, inviting you to get more information on the Valparaiso Sports Law Clinic by logging on to the website sportslawclinic.org. That's sportslawclinic.org.